shooting for from the beginning. That's why He made us. So we'd be so dependent on Him that we wouldn't even have another. It's just like that baby jumping off that high place into the daddy's arms. That baby has absolutely no doubt who's going to catch him. We should have absolutely no doubt who's going to catch us.
That's right.
So when we step out and do whatever we do, just like JT was talking about last night, when we step out to do what we're supposed to do, we should never be concerned. If He's leading us, you should never be concerned about failing.
That's right.
At Your name, mountain shakes and crumble. At Your name, the ocean rolls and rumbles. At Your name, angels are bound, heaven rejoice, the people cry out. Lord of all the earth, we shout Your name, shout Your name. Filling up the sky, endless praise, endless praise. Yahweh, Yahweh, we love to shout Your name, oh Lord. Yes, we do. Lord of all the earth, we shout Your name, shout Your name. Filling up the sky, endless praise, endless praise. Yahweh, Yahweh, we love to shout Your name, oh Lord. At Your name, the morning breaks in glory. At Your name, creation sings Your story. At Your name, angels will bow, the earth will rejoice, your people cry out. Lord of all the earth, we shout Your name, shout Your name. Filling up the sky with endless praise, endless praise. Yahweh, Yahweh, we love to shout Your name, oh Lord. Lord of all the earth, we shout Your name, shout Your name. Filling up the skies with endless praise, endless praise. Yahweh, Yahweh, we love to shout Your name, oh Lord. There's no one like our God. We will praise You, praise You. There's no one like our God. We will sing, we will sing. No one like our God. We will praise You, praise You. No one like our God. We will sing, we will sing. There's no one like our God. We will praise You, praise You. Jesus, You are God. We will sing. Lord of all the earth, we shout Your name, shout Your name. Filling up the skies with endless praise, endless praise. Yahweh, Yahweh, we love to shout Your name, oh Lord. Come on, sing it loud. your name, shout your name, filling up the skies with endless praise, Yahweh, Yahweh. We love to shout your name, oh Lord. Lord of all the earth, we shout your name, filling up the skies with endless praise, Yahweh, Yahweh. We love to shout your name, oh Lord. Just your word, you're worthy of all of our praise. If we had 1,000 tongues, we wouldn't be able to praise you enough. Lord of all the earth, we shout your name, filling up the skies with endless praise, Yahweh, Yahweh. We love to shout your name, oh Lord. Lord of all the earth, shout your name, filling up the skies with endless praise, Yahweh, Yahweh. We love to shout your name, oh Lord. We love to shout your name. Come on, sing Jesus, 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 Jesus. Yes, you're all. You're in all. You made all. Thank you, Lord. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. Worship. Yes. Hallelujah. Yes. Thank you, Lord. Yes. Even let's use that precious language for worship. Hallelujah. It's not just a problem solver or future solver, it's a worship now solver. It solves all those other things along with it.
That's right.
Imagine that. He gives us keys. He said, I give you the keys to the kingdom. That's one of them. Worship.
That's right. He gives us so much more than we realize.
This is crazy, I'm going to say anyway. It's said that we only use 10% of our brain, and I believe the reason why we only use 10% of our brain is because we haven't stepped into His will enough to use the rest of it. See, it's all for him, but we only use just the part that's about us.
You say that, but there was a time, and maybe they still are. The U.S. government was running studies to see what happened when they was able to what's the right word, stimulate the other parts of the
Right.
brain. What happens if we get past this place of only 10%? And their study showed that there was tons of capabilities that humans was possible of being a part of if that was stimulated. So
Right.
how much
They've
more
been
so?
trying to figure out God all this time themselves, even though they don't necessarily, they don't follow after it. They may believe it, but they don't follow after it. So they're trying to find the, what is it, the God molecule or the God whatever it is right now.
It's amazing what government-funded science has studied to see what's out there. It's like the fact is that they don't even understand the way our mind works. They don't understand any of it. They're still trying to figure out how it all goes together. And the truth of it is that God's got something in store. I mean, I got this feeling that when we leave this place, that all of that's probably going to be opened up.
Right. Yep. He said you'll know as you've been known.
Can I say something? I'm sorry to steal your thunder.
No, go ahead.
But I was reading something very interesting. It was just something popped up on my YouTube, and it was about something called Gnosticism.
Okay.
I'm sure you know what that is. Some people do. And the funny thing about this thing is that they believe that there's this thing called the source in the universe. They believe that's God, and they believe that there's an evil God, which is the God that supposedly we worship, that's stealing our souls and encasing it in a place near the earth and trapping us essentially in a place called the Matrix or whatever it's called. It's
Right.
it sounds like some kind of sci-fi movie, and I can't
It
believe
is one.
people actually listen to stuff like that. It just kind of took me by surprise when I started reading that stuff. I was like, what? I just thought I should mention that. I felt like I had to mention it.
Right, because the fact is that people would rather believe in anything other than God.
Uh-huh. That's right.
They have no problem believing other stuff, but God is an issue for them. So
Yeah.
and I'm not exactly sure why, other than God being God has the right to tell us what's right and what's wrong. And people don't like to be told what's right and wrong, I guess. How great an idea that he loves us.
Right.
See, you into that song, I was waiting, right? You held that note and I was waiting. Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so.
That's right.
We sing little ones, but the truth is they all belong to him.
That's right.
He died for everybody,
Mm-hmm.
whoever will accept it. He loves us.
That's right.
If we understood what that meant. It would, I don't know how we could not have zeal. I don't know how we could not have passion and fire and all of those things if we just understood how much he loves us. Can you imagine being God, speaking things into existence? John 1 says that everything that was made by the Word, and through him there was nothing that wasn't made. Everything. And there you are with all of that power and all of that ability, creating things, pointing, and it happens. I don't even know if he had to point. You know, you're talking about Gnosticism and the idea that they like the idea that there's something big. You know, it's kind of like science says there was a big bang. Well, there was a big bang. God spoke and bang, it happened just like that. You know, the whole idea that they'll look to anything, right? We look to chance, we look to nothing. We would rather believe that nothing bumped into nothing and everything happened than we would to believe that there is a God who says, let there be light.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of like, I'm sorry to keep going. I don't know, something keeps telling me to keep talking about this nonsense, but it's just that, like, when they're talking about like this God outside of whatever, and then they're talking about the God that main people worship or whatever is evil and stuff like that, and it's just the main point of it. For some reason, they believe this is because they believe that if somebody can unlock their consciousness with like nirvana or whatever and stuff like that, that we could be more powerful than God and connect to the source to like essentially be more powerful than the God that people worship as us. It feels like when I started reading that stuff, it felt like just going in circles.
Right.
You know, it just felt like going in circles. Like, what's the point here?
Right. So, one, anytime it's good for us to talk about this stuff. You know, you can prepare a message, you can have words written down that you want to share, but if it's not landing in the place that's dealing with the things that everybody's dealing with, it's worthless. It's not doing what you're supposed to do. So obviously this is something that got your attention. So the best place for us to be is right in the middle of it, so that as we move forward, we have an understanding of why we believe what we believe. I am a firm believer that every Christian ought to know why they believe what they believe. Exactly. And unfortunately, most don't. That's why you watch YouTube or TikTok and you see them and somebody will corner them about a misconception or misquote a verse to them, and then they'll just stand there like, I don't know.
You know what they target though? This is the funniest thing. They always go back to the Old Testament, like when God like created the flood and like did all these bad things or whatever. They always pinpoint on that.
Right, because
they don't understand why, or they don't understand why he did it, or for what reason he did it. Well, we'll never know that, but they always go back and pinpoint it on that.
Well, I can actually tell you why he did it. Right. And here's the thing. I mean, you're there. But the truth of it is people have an idea of what God should be like. They have an idea of what they think is good and what they think is right. And they hone in on their idea. And then they try to make a God that meets their standards. They say, well, if God really wiped out all the inhabitants of the planet, he can't be good. Why can't he be good? Well, because I wouldn't do that. Nobody asked your opinion. I'm pretty sure God didn't ask your opinion. See, there was sin that entered into the earth. See, we always want to move past that, right? We want to start from why did God destroy all the people? But we don't want to start with the fact that there was two people in one room. God says, don't eat from the tree that grows in the midst of the garden. What do? They go and eat from the tree, right?
Can I read that?
Yes.
So, and this is what supports Gnosticism. This is why it exists. It says, now the serpent was more crafty. I like the word subtle, because he's right. Sneaks in before you know it. And than any other wild animals the Lord had made. He said to the woman, did God really say, you must not eat of the tree in the garden? In other words, God's really not good if he holds anything back from you.
Right.
That's the statement that's being made with that question.
Right.
There's a question being asked, but there's a statement being given. Well, God's really not good if he's holding anything back from you. But he said, the woman said to the serpent, we may eat from the trees in the garden, but God did say, you must not eat fruit from the tree in the middle of the garden, and you must not touch it or you'll die. And this is what he said. This is the answer to Gnosticism, or the reason behind it, or part of the answer, how you want to say it. He said, you will surely not die. In other words, he knows more than God does.
Right. That question mark in there.
Right. The serpent said to the woman, for God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be opened. That nirvana you're talking about, that opening of the mind, right? That's what he's talking about. And you will be like God. Big G. Not little g. Big G. Or since you will be knowing good and evil. God never intended us to know evil.
That's right.
He always intended us to walk in the goodness of his mercy. So whenever that crap comes on, turn it off and quit listening.
So I'm gonna give you.
Don't feed yourself the wrong vegetables.
I love that while I was speaking, you was already
I was already
turning
waiting.
there.
I was already waiting.
I seen it. I love it. So just real quick, because you kind of hit on it, since we're going to talk about it, or we are talking about it. Gnosticism, according to Google, is a religious and philosophical movement that's popular in the 1st and 2nd centuries. The word Gnosis comes from the Greek word knowledge or insight. Gnosticism is characterized by the belief that there is a dichotomy between true being and becoming, that humans contain a piece of God that has fallen into their bodies from the immaterial world. They believe in physical matter is evil and subject to decay and rot and death, and that the material world was created by an inferior God.
It sounds like a movement.
Of the bow type.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I hope it's only means law.
I was gonna say about that verse, burial was being. It's funny how it entices with what they already had. Say you can be like God, and never need nothing else.
Did the enemy not do the same thing to Jesus?
Yep.
Bow down and worship me, and I will give you all the kingdoms of the world.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you sure did.
I mean,
It always works the same way.
right?
It gives you an idea of how it's gonna work.
Absolutely.
You know, we were talking about the flood a while ago, and we said, you said we probably will never know. Right here's what it says about that. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men, which were of old men of renown. And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of their thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And it repented the Lord that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart. And the Lord said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, and the creeping things and the fowls of the air, for it repenteth me that I have made them.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about that because what I was saying was so confusing to my head when I was saying it, but something just kept telling me to say it because like how ridiculous it was. So when I was saying it, it was kind of like throwing me for a loop a bit. So I kind of forgot about like the Nephilim back then and like the floods and all that stuff.
And that's when Jesus, God, had Noah through the Old Testament, build an ark, and Noah didn't understand why at first, but he did, and he built the ark, and he put 2 of each kind because of Adam and Eve, because Eve was Eve did exactly what the serpent wanted her to do, and then she turned around and had Adam do the same. And when God came into the garden, God asked where they were. And they didn't want to ask because they were ashamed, because now that they could see and they had no clothes on.
That's right. That's what he said. I was naked and I hid myself from you.
So that's when he decided to have Noah build the ark, so he can take away all of the sin that was caused and flood the earth.
Right. So if you take both of them and put them together, you realize that God is righteous.
Mm-hmm.
God is just.
Mm-hmm.
And because God is righteous and just, sin had to be punished. I don't know how much, if y'all remember the story, but there was only 8 dudes or 8 people. Maybe I shouldn't call them all dudes, but there was 8 people that got on the ark.
It was all Noah's family and their wives.
Interestingly enough, I always found this interesting. It says that Noah found grace
Yes.
Yeah.
in the eyes of the Lord.
Yes.
You notice it doesn't say Shem, Ham, or Japheth.
Right.
No.
Nope.
It says Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord.
Mhm.
When I read that, and maybe y'all read it different, maybe I'm missing something, but when I read that, I just think of a picture of a loving God that cared so much about his servant who he was asking to build this ark, that because he loved him and because Noah was at least trying to serve God, he says, I'm not going to take your kids away from you. I'm going to send them with you.
Mhm.
And you know, they tried to get people to get on the ark with them because they knew the flood was coming. And those people didn't believe. And those people that didn't believe, they were wiped out.
Yeah, wasn't it like a few, it was like a few people, like you said, and then it was, and then like, wasn't all the others basically like 2 of every animal?
Yep.
Or something like that?
Every
Mhm.
2 of each
Yeah.
kind of animal, male and female.
And then there was 7 of the clean for sacrifices.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so in the middle of all that, you find yourself looking at a God that loves his people so much, and yet at the same time is just and righteous. And if he is just, that means that he must demand justice. If you break the law, there is a penalty. Let's just pull it to today. If you break the law, there is a penalty. Sometimes we have good judges and sometimes we have crooked judges.
Oh, yes.
You look around, you see all of that happening right in front of us.
Mhm.
Sure is.
But God is a just judge. And because he is a just judge, there is a requirement to meet what the penalty that the law imposes. So when sin came into the world, there was a price that had to be paid. Sin ran more and more rampant. And you said their minds was on it continually, right? Because that's the way humans are. We talked about that this morning. We have this tendency to get sucked into the negative and not pay enough attention to the positive in our life. Good thing we ain't cars, because we would never run.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's true.
Yep.
For anybody that didn't catch it, you can't just put the negative terminal on the battery. You got to put both of them on or the car won't start, just in case you didn't know. Just-
Negative and positive.
Right. But we have a tendency to get caught up in the negative. I used to love to listen to Bob Jones Sr., and one of the things that he talked about a lot, he says, you can tell all the good things you want to about their university, right? He says you can talk about it, you can talk about how the students are doing so great, they're getting great honors from national accreditation places and all of that. You can talk about how rich of a biblical basis they have, how strong they are in the Lord. You can talk about how they're getting filled with the Spirit and magnificent things are happening. Nobody will care. He says, you start a scandal.
Yep.
It don't even have to be true.
Yep.
You just start something, and it'll go like wildfire. Everybody will be talking about it. You hear what happened over there?
Goody two-shoes.
Right? And we've seen it happen even in the last little bit, there was a preacher somewhere in Alabama. I don't know him, don't know a lot about the story, but I know that somebody put the rumor out there that he killed his wife, and the next thing you know, it's everywhere.
Yep.
They had a video or a recording of the 911 call where she called in and said she was going to kill herself. And they're like, nope, he doesn't. Yeah. Why? Because people are out to believe a scandal. We want that. We want the lowdown, right?
They want the gossiping.
They want the gossip.
They want the worldly world instead of wanting what is the righteous and being in God's word and doing His works and going by His laws.
And there you go. God's not like that, is he? He is righteous and just. So He holds us to a different standard. What I think is okay or what you think is okay doesn't really matter. Because since He created it, it belongs to Him. We are His creation. So He has the ability and the right and the authority to say how things are supposed to be. So when sin entered into the world, He had every right to stomp it out. You realize that the only reason that we're here tonight, that this world is still turning, is because of God's love, God's grace? He's still waiting for somebody. And that's the only way I know to explain it, is He's still waiting for somebody. There's somebody that He is waiting that's coming into the kingdom.
Right. So I'll say this now.
Well, if it's going to be a little rough, do you need a microphone so everybody hears you?
See, in the midst of that, we heard a lot of comments, scriptural comments that get away with that argument of Gnosticism like that. See, and this is what I'll say. If you stay committed to a body of believers who study that book and can talk about that book, then you'll learn that some things you just need to turn off and quit. Because you're filling yourself up. See, it says when a demon's cast out, when a strong man is cast out of a person, then it goes away, and then it comes back a little later, and it finds that house empty and swept clean. He said, "Hey, fellas," to his 7 other friends,
Who's worse than him?
who's worse than him, said, "Come on back." He didn't do anything with an empty house. He didn't put any furniture in it. He didn't put a refrigerator in it. He most certainly didn't put God in it.
That's right.
And therefore, the latter state of the man is worse than the first state. If you've ever witnessed that, it's an ugly, really progressive thing. So the best thing you can do is to be committed to coming and studying the Word in the midst of people who you're accountable to,
Right.
that will lift you up and help you and kick in your butt too. So you'll do what God said to do.
And I'll even go a little further there because I think it's important. Probably for anybody watching. Oh, I didn't know move the camera. It's still pointing at a blank stage. That's all right. But
Still gonna hear it?
here's the thing, and I'll say this to anybody that ends up watching later. If you're not in a place that you can have questions and talk to people and get answers, probably ought to look somewhere else. We ought to be able to do this. And you know what I love about it? And I'll just tell you what I love about this body of believers. Everybody didn't look to me to answer the question. You notice that? They pop, 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 pop. Because everybody is digging in and learning, and they're getting in that book. And that's the way it should be inside of a church.
Yeah, and they shouldn't be gossiping and judging other people
Mhm.
because of the fact that we're not the ones that are supposed to be judging. By the way, there will be a thing about TikTok about that. That's what I was said. That's why I sat down and started. When you judging somebody, you don't have the right to judge. I don't have the right to judge Barry. I don't have the right to judge Paige or Miss Alice. That's not my place. That's God's place. He will judge on Judgment Day. And that is in the book, in Matthew 7:1, to be exact, about the judging.
He
Let's take that just a little further.
he will
Okay.
definitely be the ultimate judge.
He's the ultimate judge.
Right.
Yes.
Yep.
He is the ultimate judge, but
You
that-
go
that's-
into- you go into my
that's only
verse.
part of what it says.
You go into my
Everybody
verse.
loves that part.
You go into my
Oh,
verse
no, I
about the
could bring the
telephone
whole
pole and the
chapter, the
splinter.
whole section of that.
I'm just gonna start at 7:1.
You go into my verse about the telephone pole and the splinter
Yeah,
bit.
uh-huh.
Okay.
Yep.
That's
See,
right.
it gives us a right. See, I had people tell me one time, my family, and I questioned somebody about getting a tattoo. Well, you don't have any right to do that. You've got them. I said, well, no, that means I do have a right, because I understand something different about it now. It's useless, it's stupid, it's doing something to yourself that's not necessary. God wanted you to have pictures on you. He was quite capable of putting them on you. But anyway, that's beside the point. See, we throw that out, and there's a lot of people that says, do not judge, or you will be judged. So, if you're okay with being judged, then go ahead.
Yeah.
And this is what I say. This is what it says. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged, and with the measure you use, it'll be measured to you. So be ready and make sure your house is clean.
That's right.
Be ready and make sure your house is clean.
Sorry.
Because then it says, how can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, when all the time there is a plank in your eye?
Yep.
And that's where they stop.
And then it says, you hypocrite, okay? First, before you say anything, you better make sure that your life is clean in that area.
That's right.
That's right.
I hope it's clean in all the areas, but most of us probably have something stupid that we still hold on to. But in the midst of it, we have a right to say, hey, friend, I'm mistake y'all think about what you're doing. So this is why. It says, let me take the speck out of your eye, when all the time there's a plank in your own eye. You hypocrite. First, take the plank out of your eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck of your brother's eye. See, the idea, the reason people don't want anything said to them when they throw that verse out at you real quick is they just don't want to change. The idea of no change. This book never tells you that there's not going to be change. It's always change. He said, I'll put a new heart. Even the Old Testament, I'll go back to the Old Testament, in Ezekiel 36:25, I'll put a new heart in your heart of flesh. I'll take out the old one, and I'll put a soft one that you'll be able to obey my commands.
Mm-hmm.
Right, he says, take the telephone pole out of your eye before you try to take the splinter out of your brother's eye. And that there's so much depth in that, but the bottom line is that a lot of times we like to ignore the sin in our life and point out the sin in other people's lives.
Yep.
Yeah, if nothing else, I have learned from watching Kirk Cameron on Thursday nights. It's how easy it is for somebody to see something wrong with somebody else and not see it in themselves. Yeah. What do you call somebody that tells a lie? Human? What do you call me if I tell a lie? Oh, you're a liar. You know?
Yeah. Yep.
Right, that just, it's the way we are trained, I guess, that we can find fault.
At first, we clean in front of our own door, or we clean.
That's right.
Mm,
Everybody sweep their own porch.
mm. It sure worked for building a wall, didn't it?
Our intention when we say something about someone else is usually not right. Where Jesus
You need to start that statement over and say it louder, because I don't think everybody heard it.
I said our intentions are in the wrong place when we say something about somebody. Number one, it usually ain't to the face. And number two, Jesus, when he's talking in the perspective of fixing their problem, helping,
Right.
not just
Yep.
talking down.
I just called it out.
And it's
Yeah.
not, it doesn't come just from us, it comes up from people higher in the church. I mean, you got pastors, their wives,
Mhm.
pastors' wives, the people that make up the church, which is the church. I mean, these people, and they go and all they wanna do is gossip about, they don't look good, well, look at the way they dress.
Right.
It ain't about the way you dress when you're going to church. It's about what you have in your heart.
Right.
And if you have Jesus in your heart, I don't care if you come in here all scrubby, all looking
Mhm.
nasty, because guess what? They need Jesus just as much as we do.
Yep.
You
Yep.
have to wear the box shorts?
No.
I mean,
A funny thing too is that when someone has repented of something and they've been forgiven, and someone says, "Oh, you did this," "Yeah, I did," and God forgave me. But if they're not repented of it and someone says something to them, they get offended and
yes,
say, "You don't have the right to judge me."
right,
Yep, yep.
right.
You know, we were talking about kind of the same thing on the way up here today. You know, and we've been to a couple different churches that the pastor had that little clique.
Yes, we all have.
And if you weren't in that clique,
You just wasn't in.
yeah,
You can hang it up because you're gonna get talked about
exactly.
by them, and them.
Yep.
And it's
Lord
not
help us to
right.
never be that way.
It's not
And
right.
that-
No, we don't do that
And
here.
that was what
We're a
that's what we were
family
talking about,
here.
because it was so different here.
Lord help us to
Pastor
never be
Kriss
that
acts
way.
like he is just like one of us.
Right.
Yeah, like you make mistakes just like we do.
Right.
The church of God we went to, the pastor acted like he was already wherever he needed to be.
He was
there.
better than
But he
everybody
was trying
else.
to bring you with him, but he was there. You know, he told you how loud he had to play the music, what you could wear to church, how you could say something. And I thought, at that time I thought it was right. And then I come here and I realized a pastor is somebody who's your friend, who sits down with you and says, "Look, I've been there too, I've done the same thing." You know, and
Yep.
doesn't judge you.
Yep.
right.
And me and Derek Thomas said, "This is the only church I've ever been to where the pastor knows and loves everybody in here.
Right.
He acts like he's just one of us. He's not any better than us. You know, he's not done anything any cleaner, or he's not any higher on the level of getting to heaven than we are."
Right.
And it makes me feel like I'm accomplishing what I need to accomplish by being in this church.
Hallelujah. That's exciting for that's just exciting for all of us.
Mhm.
But you know, the funny thing about all that is we preach holiness.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's the funny thing about it.
Right.
You see, everybody relates when they walk in this door. They don't say, "Well, I can't believe they're telling us all these rights and wrongs to do." We preach holiness in a different
Different
way.
way.
Exactly.
We
Yep.
teach it
Yep.
it's being taught in a way that we can understand it better. Some people may not have the mentality to understand. If Kriss was to say some of these extraordinary words that I had to question Norman about today on the way home. Like, what? Excuse me, what was that?
And,
Uh-uh.
and I think a lot of that has to do with we do a lot of teaching here instead of preaching.
Yes.
And we all feel like family.
And we all talk about it. We all talk
feel
about
like
it.
family.
I love it.
You know, no matter what your past is or what you might have done, you've come here and you've been accepted.
That's
You
it.
know, and it's different. It's just different being here.
Because we've all got a past.
You know?
Yep.
Yes.
Exactly.
But a lot of people don't let that
Right.
past go even in church. So like I told Derek, the church we were going to, I said, "Do you think anybody in that church, if you just told them you were a recovered drug addict, that they would have looked at you different when you, because they would have.
Oh,
They
yeah.
would have kind of scooted over like this.
And I've been to many churches that do that.
I did nails from 2006 to 2012 until I had my first surgery. I had asked the lady to come to church with me. And she looked at me, and she was serious when she told me. She said, Angie, I'm sorry. I can't walk into a church. And I looked at her and said, why? She's like, because I don't have dress clothes. I don't have the appropriate clothes to go to church. I said, hold up, stop. I said, I go in jeans, I go in shorts, tennis shoes, a t-shirt. I said, it ain't about how you look when you go to church. It's about what's in that heart when you go to church. And that's a lot of churches, you have to, like you said, you have to dress this certain way. You gotta wear slacks, dresses. Women can wear slacks but don't come in here like we come in here.
Yeah, don't come out here in jeans and tennis
Right,
shoes.
because they're gonna look at you like you're retarded.
Yeah.
And it's not about all of that.
And
Did
it takes-
Jesus wear any suits?
Because we have a tendency to make things not about what they're supposed to be.
Take
We-
your
we
attention
just
away
do.
from why you're
You know?
there.
Yep.
Right.
And
We
did
used to be a part of a ministry.
That's right.
And the ministry that we was in had this, they had a church service, it was during the week. And if somebody got saved during the church service, they would grab them and put them in the car. They would go over to Suit City and they would buy them a suit or a dress so that they could go to church the following Sunday.
It's not about.
I mean,
Yeah.
just let that sink in for a second. It's almost like you're saying to them, okay, you're
you
not
can't
welcome
come to
the way
church because
you are. And that's a whole nother, in my opinion.
no, it's
That's the same as Gnosticism. I mean, it's
Exactly.
just as bad.
it is.
Yep.
You know, you're making a belief that isn't biblically based.
Yep. And that's
See,
why a lot of people
Did
get led
Jesus
the wrong
have
way.
on slacks? Did Jesus have a suit on when he was walking?
I have no idea what he was wearing, but I know that he caught a bunch of fishermen that probably didn't have the time to go take a shower when they jumped off their boat and left their daddy there.
Exactly.
You know, I'm just saying. But inside of that, it's great that we get to do this.
It is.
Because there is a lot of times that people just need to dig into God's Word and be able to have a conversation and look and say, hey, this is what the Bible is telling me, and this is how it's played out in Paige's life, in David's life, in Alice's life, so that I can see that it's not just a book of some words that somebody wrote a long time ago, but it actually still has power. And this room that I'm sitting in is full of people whose lives have changed because of what it says. And you know what? I believe that if this word can change Derek's life, then it can probably change my life too.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
And I love it. I love that we can come together like this. It is awesome. Don't forget, Michael is going to be teaching Wednesday night. I hope he ain't forgot.
So I'll just throw this little tidbit in, and maybe people don't realize. Jesus did wear something very fancy. It was a one-piece,
Yes, they
a
hit
one-piece
his.
robe.
Yes, his robe.
That's very expensive, and they gambled for it. They wanted it. So he did have something that set it apart, probably in the midst of it. I'm not sure how visible it is, or if it was more of an undertaking than it was an outtaking.
But he didn't wear it every day.
Right. Well, and he wandered the streets, and he was dirty, and
Right.
I'm sure he did take a shower today.
Okay, so this is a study that I have never done, but I'm y'all talking and laughing, and it just makes me wonder, what would hygiene have looked like
Back
then compared to what it does now?
Mm.
Jumped in the creek and took a bath.
You know, back in the 60s when we first got married, a guy came to my door selling Bibles. He looked like homeless. He had long hair, a long beard, and a long overcoat on. And first thing came to my mind was Jesus. I was young, and I let that man in my house. I probably would not do it today, but I let him in my house, and he actually a Bible, and I actually gave him a glass of water. And when he left, I cleaned this chair where he sat. It was that bad, but I bought that Bible and I still got it. It's not the one I read every day, but he.
Do you remember what kind of Bible it was?
I don't remember.
Still got it?
I got it in the drawer. It's not the one I read the one you gave me. Unless I donated it to my friend's closet, which is a ministry of the
Yeah.
church. But there he was, and he was selling Bibles, and I didn't know who he was, and I thought that long hair and the way he was dressed, I thought of Jesus.
Oh.
It could have been Jesus.
I'm sorry, I just got this picture of
It
Miss
could have been
Alice
Jesus.
opening the door saying, Jesus is standing here to sell me a Bible. I believe I could buy one.
I'm gonna buy a Bible.
Talk about a sales approach. I mean,
I'll be like, woo, Jesus, John needs to baptize you again, brother.
I know that's silly. I guess that I'll even know it, but,
that's funny.
it entered my mind, and I let that guy in, and he actually smelled bad. But I cleaned the chair where he sat, and everything was all right.
And we laugh and joke, but the Bible does say how many times we entertained angels and not known it.
That's right.
Yep,
That's right.
exactly.
Whoever, how's it worded? Whoever gives a cup of water in my name,
Mhm.
it means this is what we're supposed to do.
I have a question.
Yes.
What would you do if Jesus came knocking on your door?
I hope I'd open it and we'd sit down and sup together.
He did, March the 7th, 1998, 7 o'clock. I said, come on in.
Right?
I
I was
said,
thinking
I
more
got you in
physical
the
when
phone.
she
I
said
read
that.
Right. And that's what people don't understand.
Right. I was thinking
You
more
gotta love it
physical.
to
I was
your
looking for
heart.
it.
Yeah, the Pharisees, they
Yeah.
would have told you they would let God in their house. Yeah,
Right.
it was right in front of them. Yeah, but it was
Yeah, they didn't care much for him. But they was looking for a whole different thing. They was looking for somebody to come and set up their kingdom and reign and rule with the iron fist, and they wasn't looking for a lamb, they was looking for a lion.
Yeah.
Somebody to remove the Roman Empire from their country.
Yep.
he was turning.
We were talking about the sweeping your house, sweeping the front porch of your house. We used to have a saying in recovery, when you go and, when you ask for forgiveness for people, or you forgive people for stuff that you've done or that stuff that they've done to you, in recovery, we always say that, you may not get the forgiveness from them, or they may not accept your forgiveness from them, but you have cleaned your side of the street.
That's right.
Mm.
Yep.
That's right.